Did you know that kinky wellness is integral to your self-development? Hi, welcome to The Partition, home of kinky wellness, the ultimate destination to explore the integral connection between kinky wellness and your personal development. I'm your host and kinky wellness coach, Dana Sugar, and I'm here to show why kinky sexual wellness deserves a rightful spot within the wellness conversation. Don't forget to join me each Monday as I bring on a special guest to dive into specific aspects of kinky wellness. So let's strip away the shame and taboo together and have an open conversation about it. Hey, and welcome back. Today's episode is a good old-fashioned rant. And in today's rant, I'm going to be talking about the importance of hitting rock bottom and letting go of blame. Now, I know that we live in a culture that loves to favor victimhood, which is very much rooted in blaming others. But at a certain point, you need to realize that everything wrong in your life is because of you. And I know that may sound harsh, but there comes a point in every adult's life when you're not allowed to blame your childhood, your parents, your society, your government, your religious leaders, or your peer group on why you are the way you are or why your situation is the way it is. Of course, if you're hanging out in a friend group that likes to enable each other, or you come from a family system that doesn't call each other out on their toxic or shitty behavior or even take accountability for it in the first place, then yeah, you're going to have a tougher time learning this lesson. But the truth remains the truth. And the harsh truth is that you are 100% responsible for your life and what happens in it. So if you don't like your job, your life, your friend group, your financial status, that's on you. And you have to own that. You have to own that you made the decisions that have put you in the place that you are currently in right now, whether that's subconscious or conscious decisions. And again, if you've been a longtime listener, then you already know that even if challenges or shitty things in your life aren't your fault, it's still your responsibility to pick up those challenges and do something about them, no matter how big, small, or hard they may seem. You can't just roll over and claim victimhood for all your misfortunes or unappealing characteristics and behaviors. But I get it. It's easy to blame others, and it's easy to blame the system. And there are a number of reasons why people find it easier to blame. Blaming allows us to avoid feelings of guilt, shame, inadequacies, consequences, criticisms, and negative judgments. Blaming can be used as a defense mechanism. Blaming can give someone a sense of control over their situation because they're able to manipulate the narrative. But blaming can also be learned. For instance, maybe you were raised in a household where everybody blamed everybody, and no bad situation was ever resolved. But typically, people who are raised in this type of household are often surrounded by people who lack self-awareness and introspective skills. And if you're listening to this, then I trust that this isn't you or how you view life. But let's be real. Blaming is a slippery slope because even if you weren't raised in a blaming household, again, I believe our culture has certainly made blaming a social norm. Oh, it's this politician's fault, or it's that politician's fault. It's religion's fault, it's my mom's fault, it's my dad's fault, or it's my coworker's fault, or it's my boss's fault. But while you're busy blaming others for your misfortunes or unappealing personal characteristics and behaviors, you simultaneously let yourself off the hook for doing anything about it. Blaming allows you to live in this fantasy world where everyone's out to get you and you are Mr. or Mrs. Innocent. But the reality is we all have a part to play in our suffering when we've reached adulthood. So how do you stop blaming? Well, you need to start by taking accountability, and this goes further than just acknowledging your mistakes or current situation. It also includes committing to change, whether that's changing your job, your friend group, or more often than enough, your attitude and how you view the world. Now, I'm not saying change is easy and that it can happen overnight. But if you're already saying, no, I can't change my situation or how I behave because of XYZ, then you're right. Our mindset about change begins with our thinking, and if you already have a defeated mindset, then I'm not going to argue with you. But I want to be clear. Changing the habit of blaming is definitely achievable with deliberate effort and self-awareness. Like most things, self-awareness is the first step towards making any type of change. Then you need to take responsibility and reflect on what could have been done differently and how you contributed to the situation. And ultimately, if you think you couldn't change anything, then let that situation go. But as you reflect on things that you were involved in, I want you to pair that with empathy. Because when you practice empathy, you're going to be able to see situations from different angles, right? It's kind of like how that saying goes, you can't see the forest between the trees. So by focusing on your situation from a different angle, it allows you to view it in a way that will hopefully push you to see solutions rather than continuing to dwell on whose fault it is. Because ultimately, blaming doesn't allow you to learn from your mistakes. And if you aren't learning from your mistakes or failures, then you certainly aren't growing or learning. But again, changing habits takes time and effort, so you need to learn to be patient with yourself and allow room for mistakes along the way. But the idea here is to help you cultivate a more positive and accountable mindset in your life. Because you can go ahead and blame people all day and tomorrow, but that doesn't stop the clock. And before you know it, people can be blaming a certain person or situation, and poof, 5, 10, 20, 50 years could go by and nothing changed, which is painful in a whole other way. Now, I get that none of us want to be seen as bad or that we did something wrong. Believe me, I've been there. For a lot of years, I blamed how I was because of my childhood and my parents. But then one day I woke up in the worst situation of my life, and I realized that I was the one who made all the decisions to get me to that point. And I had to sit down and have a really hard talk with myself about taking accountability and leaving the blame out of the equation. And in that moment, when I was able to take accountability and leave the blame out of the equation, that's when I knew I hit rock bottom. Because for me personally, while I was busy blaming my past, I couldn't see that I was subconsciously and consciously making decisions that was driving my life into the ground. And once I got rid of that blaming tendency, that's also when I was able to get rid of that false sense of security that I wasn't in the wrong and that, yes, I am the captain of my own ship. But it wasn't all bad. Hitting rock bottom was the most transformative experience of my life to date. It pulled me out of my la-la land that I was living in and gave me a much clearer perspective on my life, my priorities, how I didn't want to act anymore, and what truly mattered to me, which ultimately gave me an immense motivation to change, and it was pretty much a rebirth to life. Because for anyone who has hit rock bottom, then you know that rock bottom is not fun. And you know how excruciatingly painful it is, so why would you stay there any longer than you need to? Seriously, hitting rock bottom can be good for you if you choose to not sit there and actually do something constructive about it. Because when you actually commit to doing something about it, it forces you to recognize your vulnerabilities, your limitations, and the areas where you need to improve. And we all have areas that we need to improve on. Honestly, hitting rock bottom humbles the fuck out of you. And if you choose to rebuild with integrity and intention, it can lead you down a path of greater appreciation for the positive aspects of your life and in the power of second chances. And not rolling over and playing victimhood and that you do something about it also teaches you a number of life lessons that are required in this game of life. It teaches you to stretch beyond your comfort zone. It teaches you to strengthen your creative problem-solving skills and to be adaptable. It teaches you that, yes, you are capable of overcoming challenges and changing your behavior no matter how hard that may seem at first, and that you can always bounce back. Getting out of rock bottom also provides a sense of self-empowerment and achievement because it reinforces that belief that by doing hard work and being persistent about it, you will end up down a path of stability. Plus, one of the best things about getting out of rock bottom is that even if you hit rock bottom again, you already know you can get out of it because you already did it the first time, right? Just reach back into that bag of skills you created for yourself, like perseverance, determination, honest self-reflection, and empathy, and you'll be all right. And from there, you're better equipped to help other people that are facing challenges. And that is a whole lot better than just sitting in some victimhood pity party. Because at some point, it is my hope that everyone can be human enough to break this toxic cycle of blaming everyone and everything for our problems and begin the healing journey of taking 100% accountability for our actions, behaviors, and attitudes, which I know can be a daunting task at first. But like all things, you can begin to practice taking ownership in bite-sized pieces. For instance, in Kinky Wellness, you can practice taking ownership by participating in activities that puts you in the more dominant role. Not saying that you can override what your submissive wants and has instructed. Remember, you always have to follow the Kinky Wellness basics, but ultimately playing in the more dom role gives you that sense of control and provides an opportunity to take ownership over mistakes as they come up. Trust that nobody learns skills like this overnight, nor should anyone expect you to. Rewiring our brain can be a slow process. And if you've been blaming others for years and years and years, then give yourself grace and commend yourself that you're even trying to change this habit in the first place. You really need to believe in yourself and believe that you have the strength and the determination within you to overcome any bad habit you have. You need to trust in your ability to make positive changes and remind yourself to take it one day at a time. I suggest imagining yourself in a world where you didn't blame others. What would that look like? Do you think people would respect you more? Do you think people would give you more credibility? Do you think you'd be less angry and resentful? Do you think you'd have a more positive influence on others? I hope you answered yes to those questions because I certainly think the answer is yes. Because who doesn't love a stand-up, honest person who takes accountability for their actions? You can't deny that people are naturally drawn to those types of people, so why not try to be someone who people love and respect? Trust me, it will make your life a lot easier. Nobody likes people who blame others all the time. Honestly, the only people that like people who blame are also people who blame. And if you're entering Kinky Wellness, you cannot be the type of person who blames. You have to be the person who takes accountability for their action, and there's no way getting around this. So if you agree that taking ownership of your life is 100% better than blaming, please let me know in the comments. But that's all I have for the importance of hitting rock bottom and letting go of blame. As for next week's episode, we are going to be joined by fan favorite, pro-dom, professional human behavioral expert, and alternative lifestyles coach, D20 Dom. D20 Dom was previously on the show in episode 91, How to Increase Self-Awareness and Live More Authentically, and again in episode 131, where we set the record straight on age and pet play. However, in next week's episode, D20 Dom is back to tell us everything we need to know about the misunderstood play type urophilia, which includes play types that include urine, like the infamous golden shower. Once again, D20 Dom is here to remind us that pleasure comes in many forms and that urine doesn't need to be so scary. So be sure to tune in next week if you want to learn more on what urine play is, what play types are included under this umbrella, health and safety considerations, and we even touch on squirting from what it is and if it's considered a water play sport or not. But if you liked what you heard, please share and subscribe to The Partition, home of Kinky Wellness YouTube channel, to catch all the latest episodes. Any like and share is greatly appreciated. But that's it for me. I hope you have a great rest of your week. And as always, stay kinky.